Okay, some people ask me this question: why do they need a guard column, or when should they use a pre-column filter? There's a couple reasons you'd want to use a pre-column filter or post-column filter or a pre-column. A pre-column is a shorter version of your column with the same stationary phase in it to help clean up any extra junk. So you want things that don't load on the column, or contaminants if you're dealing with a complex natural product, to collect on your guard column so you don't contaminate your main column. And you can throw away your guard column because they're a lot cheaper. That's why you use a guard column, usually analyzing complex natural products like ginkgo biloba, black cohosh, really complex natural products with lots of peaks. And there's a lot of junk in there, plant material that can clog up the column. You want that to happen on your guard column, and you toss that instead of your column. You want to use a post-column filter before the ELSD, usually 2 micron in size, to deal with any kind of silica bleed that could be coming off your column. So your ELSD is here, and you got your pump, and you got your solvent line, and you got your column, and you go to a 2 micron filter, then you go into your ELSD. Here's a SETX 85 right here. So you put a post-column filter right there between your column and your ELSD. And you could also, if you want to, put a guard column in front of your column because it guards your column. That's why they call it a guard column. So this is your injector and your pump. Your sample is traveling through here. This is going to collect any excess junk from your sample prep. And then the rest of your molecules will travel into your column. As you do your gradient, your peaks will elute off. But of course your column is bleeding silica, little particles of silica, and you want your pre-column to catch the silica, because what the post-column filter is going to do for you is it's going to prevent your nebulizer from clogging. Because the hole for the nebulizer is maybe 100 microns. And you're going from like 5/1000 tubing into a 2 micron filter, and you go into a 5/1000 ID tube here, and then it's going to like 150 micron tube into your nebulizer. So as the passage gets smaller and smaller, all it takes is a few particles to get together and clog it. So this will help reduce clogging of your nebulizer. This will help, the guard column will reduce the clogging of your column. Both of these things, or none of those things, you can do whatever you want. But usually you're going to use a pre-column with very high concentrations of dirty, complex samples. If your samples are clean and well prepared and low particulate, then you probably won't need a pre-column. And if you want to use a post-column filter, it doesn't matter how clean or dirty your sample is. It's going to depend on how good your column is. If your column's pH is very narrow and you're on the edge of the pH tolerance for that silica, you're going to start bleeding out silica more than spec. And that silica can be enough to clog your nebulizer. And I've even seen ELSD's drift tube inside out at Long Island. I did a short stay out on Long Island and fixed an ELSD that the drift tube was completely filled with silica. I cleaned the detector, I couldn't get it to run, I couldn't get the gas to go through the glass cell, I couldn't figure out what it was. And they are running at gain 4, very high concentrations of sample, a very large column that was bleeding silica, and the column literally disgorged itself into the detector, and it had filled up the inside of the drift tube. So your drift tube hole is like this. So this is like 13 millimeters diameter. But instead of a nice round dark hole to go through that drift tube, the cross section, it was completely filled with silica. Almost 3/4 of the diameter had silica in here. You can't bake it out. You can't steam clean the detector. Silica will not evaporate because it's sand. The only way I could fix that detector is I had to take a piece of PEEK tubing and bend a little tip on it like this, and did like a fancy scientific rotor-rooter through the top of the detector. I pushed it all the way through the drift tube, broke up the silica, and cleaned it out and fixed the detector. So that was the extreme case.